The transformative change we want to see in Yampala is very possible. And it boils down to every one of us, okay? We should do our best. Leadership isn't easy.
Hello everyone, it's Campus Vibe.
It's a demonic connection.
Hello everybody, welcome to Campus Vibes TV in collaboration with LPS Media. My name is Andy V and I'm the host for today. So we have a very special guest here. Many of you may know him and well, he's the Central SRC President for UDS. So can you briefly introduce yourself and share your journey to becoming the SRC President?
Thank you very much. It's a great privilege to be here today. My journey so far, well, I think my journey to be SRC President started the very first day I stepped foot here. And it has a background story. Back at my alma mater, that's the Sunyani Technical University, I was an executive officer back then. And there were some lapses in leadership I saw. And I felt that if I was a president, probably I could have made some changes. So coming to UDS, I believed I had to fix that. I had to right those wrongs. And so far, I would say it has been a plethora of experiences. Good ones, bad ones, but all in all, I'm learning.
Okay, so that was what inspired you to go for the role?
Aside that necessarily, it had to do with my passion for change.
Okay.
As much as I believe that change takes time, but then change is very, very possible.
Wow.
One way or the other, we are all responsible for initiating change in wherever we find ourselves. And that's why I found myself aspiring and later becoming a candidate and at the moment acting as the Central SRC President for this institution. It's been great so far. It's been great.
Okay. So what are the biggest challenges in UDS so far and how is your administration addressing them?
The biggest challenges so far. I think the primary thing we would all have to understand has to do with our mindset as people.
Okay.
How are the students here willing to take part in initiating the change we want to see? How are we taking part in transforming the institution? Okay. It's not just about it. I think during my last State of the SRC address, I said something. Change is possible, but then we are all part of it. We are all part of the SRC. We are only a council represented by less than 20 people. But then we all come together to ensure that the council functions appropriately. Yeah. For the challenges, there are many. I'm sure you can all mention a couple of them.
Yes.
Water crisis. Do you agree to that?
Yes.
Poor infrastructure. Yeah. Coming to our classrooms, electricity issues. All these are there. Our road deteriorations are all parts of that. Lack of internet access. You get it. How do we even distribute water on campus? We buy water at a high rate. These are all challenges we face. Our portal systems, all these are there. But then one way or the other, under my leadership, we've been able to tackle not everything, but then some of them. Again, I'll lead you back to what I said previously. Change takes time, okay? It doesn't happen once and for all. One person has to start, get to a certain level, then the others, those who come next will take seat from there. So far, that's been it.
Okay, so are there any new policies that you have put in place to enhance students' life? Any new policies?
Thank you very much. Before I proceed with that, our challenges are numerous. And one thing about leadership is that during the moment of campaign, you probably say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. Yes. But it doesn't work that way until you occupy the office. And I remember during the central handing over, the outgone SRC President, Rukaya, said something. She was like, when you are at the right side of the road, you see things perfectly. You think everything can be done until you get to the left side. Or was it the right to the left? Whichever one it was. Yeah. From my side, as a normal student, as a concerned student, I felt that, oh, these things should have been able to do. We were able to do these things until I got into the office. Then I realized that the game is different. Yes. It's an entirely different game. So you realize that some of the policies you even intended to initiate might not work. There are priorities. Okay. That's one thing we should all consider, priorities. Okay. Looking at some of these priorities, our water challenge. During my campaign, I never said anything about water. No. Until I got into office, I realized that the water distribution was bad. And I'd like to thank the previous administrations, from Mugisi's administration to the SWAS administration, the procuring of the polling tanks, and then the initiating of the water project. But then it wasn't a complete thing. How do we then distribute the water? So during our tenure in office, we decided to procure a motorcane, which is now functioning, to distribute the water. We all know that the indigents in Tamale, in Yampala here, they sell water for 3 cedis.
Yes.
We intend to sell it at 2 cedi, 50 pesos. I mean, you might say, oh, 50 pesos is nothing. But then, SRC could have done more, probably sell it at 1 cedi, 2 cedis. But this is a new project we are starting. We are more or less piloting the project. You understand? So we'd have to make sure that we break even. We are able to make up for the costs, a little profit. First of all, you have to maintain the motorcane that's distributing the water. You have to fuel it. You also have to pay whoever that is what's running the motorcane.
Yes.
Calculations at the end of the day, retailing the water at 2 cedi 50 pesos, you're only ending up with 200 Ghana cedis. Can 200 Ghana cedis maintain the motorcane for the duration? Can it fuel the motorcane for the duration? Can it also pay whoever that is driving the motorcane to distribute the water? No. You get it. The challenges are enormous. Okay, but then in our way, we have started something, hoping and believing that the next administration will be able to take forward. You understand? Yeah. Then what else? About our street lighting system, I think we can all testify that at the beginning of the very first trimester, the street lights from Great Hall to the entrance were not working at all.
Yeah.
Through lobbying and everything. Yesterday I was reading and I realized that some of them had been fixed.
Yes.
The place is bright now. Students from Nyankpala who come to campus to study are okay now.
Yes.
They don't care about the security issues and everything. Also, with regards to security, when we take our minds back to the beginning of the very first trimester, where, may he so rest in perfect peace, we lost a student at Bungu campus.
Yes.
That was because there were no security caution. I mean, we all hear that don't walk alone, but then how do we make that happen? So during the first few weeks of our administration, we installed security symbols. Do not walk alone. When you're leaving your room, inform someone. Whatever you're doing, make sure someone is aware. And these security symbols are around.
Do you think the security symbols are really helping the students? Because it's like maybe some students don't really see the importance of it. They just pass and they don't really take notice of it. Have you kind of made them know that it's actually very important for them to take note of those things?
Exactly. They are aware. And it's not even by the administration saying it.
Yes.
It's by you just reading what is there. Once you read it, it clicks into your mind. There was a time I was leaving my hostel and it dawned on me that I should tell someone I was going to town. It dawned on me that I should tell someone that I'm leaving. All these things were parts. It rings in my head that, oh, I saw this security symbol somewhere. It says that I shouldn't walk alone. If I'm carrying a lot of cash, I shouldn't walk without cash. At any point in time, I could be robbed. You understand?
So far, have you seen any improvements, like comparing your administration when you came into power? Have you seen any difference, like you've made more impact or something?
Honestly, I didn't want to talk about the impact I have made as a person, but I'm sure that majority of the students will testify to the fact that they have seen a difference.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think the students themselves should do in order to enhance their lives on campus?
When it comes to welfare, I think it's an individual responsibility first. Okay,
Yes.
you should ensure that you take maximum measures to ensure that you are secured as a person.
Okay.
You should ensure that you do the right thing at the right time. There's no way you should get up and you walk around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. all alone, where you know that anything can possibly happen.
Okay.
It comes first to us as individuals, okay, before the SRC come in. You should also understand that the SRC doesn't have the autonomy throughout that we can do things right away. We are also under a higher authority, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We're under the Vice of Student Affairs that proceeds to the management and also to the central administration. It's not just limited to us. So we can't necessarily solve all problems immediately.
Okay.
For instance, portal issues. There are students who didn't register on time. But then when they realized that they couldn't see their results, where did they come to? Straight to the SRC. You get it?
Yes.
But then that fault that's not a problem we can immediately solve. We'll listen to your complaint, all right. The best we can do is to write letters, petition that you get it. But then the fees have to be paid. You have to also register.
Yes.
You have to do that work yourself, okay? So usually I admonish students that make sure you do the right thing. When there's an extraordinary problem, you then come to the SRC and we'll play our part.
Okay. So there's also this question I've always wanted to ask you
That's
as
right.
the SRC president. So how are you able to balance studies with your work? Because it seems like a very tough kind of role you've taken. How are you able to balance everything and still perform academically good? Like, it's impressive.
Well, one thing I will always say is that as every individual, you should know your capabilities. You should know your capabilities as a person.
Okay.
Are you capable of doing this? Are you able to multitask? And by the grace of the Almighty God, I'm able to multitask and do certain things.
Wow.
As much as sometimes I don't go for lectures and all that, but then I'm able to catch up. And I have friends. That's one thing I underline. I have friends, colleagues who are able to help me out one way or the other during lecture hours, send me lecture notes, assignments, they help me out to date and all that. Yeah. But then the entire ability is to multitask. You should be able to multitask. Else, trust me, you flow and to be very flawless.
So, what advice do you have for the students that are aspiring to take on the leadership role you're taking? What advice do you have for them? How should they prepare? How should they make their policies? How should they just... What advice do you have for them?
Generally, when you look at our country as a whole, what we lack is a development plan. Okay.
Okay.
And that's why my administration, we are looking forward to amend our constitution. There should be a clause, one way or the other, that initiates the fact that you continue on developmental projects.
Yes.
Okay, they should look at the immediate problems. And I don't shy to say this. I made mistakes at the very beginning.
Okay.
Mistakes that today I regret. If at the time I was drafting my budget for the entire academic year, I had consulted faculty presidents, I've consulted almost everyone, some of the projects we would have done would have been entirely different. Okay, projects that will enable positively enable the welfare of students. Okay, so they have to relax, look at the current challenges, their priorities, then you add them to your policies, campaign on them. And you don't just campaign on them. At the end of the day, when you come to power, you should be able to initiate and make sure that those policies are effective. There are lots of challenges we face, but then, as I stated earlier on, change doesn't come immediately. It's not immediate. It's a step-by-step process, and it involves everyone. Everyone has to play a part in initiating that change.
So, Mr. Bruce Kambutu, what is your last word for the people?
My last words.
Yes.
When you're outside the leadership scope, you see things differently. When you get in there, it's enormous work. It's enormous work, a whole lot. But one thing I can say is that everything is really possible. Everything is possible.
Definitely.
The transformative change we want to see in Yampala is very possible. And it boils down to every one of us, okay? We should do our best. Leadership isn't easy. And that's why during my declaration of intent, I made mention of something. I said, leadership is a road that is traveled by less people. Not everyone travels that particular road of leadership. It has a whole lot. It has a whole lot. A lot. Emotional distress, mental, psychological distress, and everything. But you should build yourself. You should build yourself to last during your tenure of office. I wish everyone the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, it's Campus Vibe TV.
It's a demonic connection.